Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Climate Change Advisory Board. Just go through a few items of note for us. One is that the meeting will be recorded and it is live. It will be available on YouTube probably within about 2 or 3 days. So if anybody in the public gallery don't want to be picked up on the screens, just please notify the officers and we will try and do our best to avoid you. We can't promise that won't happen, but thank you. But we will take it from there once we can see where we're going. Can we all? Are you able to see around the desk? Thank you. It's a strange way of starting a meeting, isn't it? So just continuing on from that, if there is a fire alarm, we're not expecting one, please evacuate via the fire exit door over to the corner there. You will then go to Community Square at the front of the building, and we'll make sure everybody is safe and secure at that point. And the final point I'd make is that obviously members of the committee will speak tonight. Members of the public, you're very much welcome here. When we're in part A of the meeting, everybody's welcome. If we go into part B for any reason, members of the public will be asked to leave, but I'm not aware of anything on the agenda that will require us to go into that point. So that's where we leave the meeting at that point. Okay, you all happy? Yeah. Right, if we can start the meeting then, please. Apologies for absence.
Through your chair, we haven't received any apologies tonight.
Thank you. Minutes of the previous meeting, are they agreed? Thank you. I'll sign those at the end. Interest, declaration of interest. Anything, Shane?
Thanks, Chair. As per usual, I'm a council appointee to the board of Gravesham Community Leisure Limited, the 2 leisure centres of which are run for us, and they are mentioned in the reports.
Thank you. But for clarity's purpose, you're a council appointee and you have no other interests in the board in a financial matter. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct, Chair.
Thank you. Item 4 then is to consider any items in part A needing movement to part B. There's none that I'm aware of, so you agree with that? Thank you. Item 5 is the climate change delivery plan. Sada, would you like to take us through that, please?
Good evening, everyone. Presenting members this evening with the climate change delivery plan at Appendix 1 for your consideration and comments. Key activities that progressed in the last 6 months have been highlighted under Section 2, and few of those are Council's fleet transition to 100% HVO fuel, successful funding for warm homes, Social Housing Fund Wave 3, completion of EV charger installation at Cleveland House, integrating green infrastructure for biodiversity net gain, Solar Together Phase 4 progress, positive outcome of Recycle Your Electricals project, proposal to establish a battery energy storage system, and so on. To note, this will probably be the last update on the currently adopted strategy until the full council considers the new one in the next meeting. We believe that members have already gone through the updates in the delivery plan, so we will go ahead and take questions now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sarah, do you want to add anything? No? Right, obviously we've got the plan in front of us. We've been through this a few times already. The key things just remind us that where we've done the solar power on roofs within the borough, that's been a scheme we run jointly with Kent County Council very successfully. We've also done the electrical parking points that I can see have been rolled out to many car parks within the borough from rural to urban. And I know that's been a very successful programme, again funded by Kent County Council and the government, but it's been a good programme itself. Likewise, the installation of council properties has been funded by grants that we were successful in getting from government, and helps the residents in Gravesham to lower their heating bills. All very successful. Whether you like to view that as climate change reaction or just good efficiency and assisting our tenants, you can read both ways. I think it does work both ways, so I'm happy with both aspects of it. But just a brief summary there. Shane, I see you want to make a comment.
Thanks very much, Chair. Under Section 2, we've got a bunch of things that have done in the last little while, and some of that have costs, but pertinent to your point, Chair, actually there are benefits and savings that have been made as a result of that. Are we able to tease out, if not here, and circulate it as part of a future paper, the savings that have been made as a result of this? If we have done heat pumps that have cost that much, actually how much have been saved? We look at the coverings that have been done working. We got a grant for Sport England for the leisure centre, which we help pay towards the energy costs. By covering those pools over, money has been saved. It isn't just the outlay and those costs, there's the savings elements of it as well. Pertinent to your point, Chair, about it isn't just about climate change, it's actually about saving residents, taxpayers money. Are we able to quantify that in a sort of net gain benefit, if you will, to residents?
Yep, through you, Chair, that's certainly something that we can prepare and circulate to members of this committee.
Any other comments? Any questions for officers in respect to this report? I'm looking over towards Deborah. Shane? No? Right. Sorry? I thought you were about to say something. No? Right, thank you very much for that. And the report is very worthwhile. Particularly outlined paragraph 2, all those items there and the bullet points of where money has been spent to make life more efficient and better for residents of Gravesham. So thank you, and thank officers for that. I'm particularly looking forward to seeing how some of these are updated going forward to show the improvement to our community. Okay, so can we note the report? I don't think there's any action points on there as far as checking. Provide comments that you've done and note the report. Is that agreed? That then takes us to the next report, which is the Energy and Sustainability Team. And that's in the hands of Bal, please, if you'd like to take us into that one.
Thank you, Chair. The report provides an update on the Housing, Energy and Sustainability Team's progress for the 24-25 period, emphasising the Council's commitment to reducing carbon emissions, improving energy efficiency and meeting government targets. The team has made significant strides in upgrading its housing stock, reducing properties in EPC bands D or below from 42% to 17%, thereby contributing 28.57% reduction in associated carbon emissions. Progress which has been acknowledged by being shortlisted for the MJ Achievement Awards for our leadership in responding to the climate emergency. We have also been acknowledged nationally by Uswitch Energy and placed in the top 10 for providers of social housing with the best average energy performance rating for the housing stock, with an EPC score of 73.6. The report highlights key initiatives such as insulation improvements to 270 properties, which will save approximately 167 tonnes of CO2 annually and lower residents' fuel bills. A third installation of ground source heat pumps with solar PV at Cleveland House, an independent living scheme. All homes are expected to reach EPC A rating on completion.
Sorry, can you wait there a moment, please? Would you mind taking the sign down, please? It's distracting for people. Please take it down. Please take it down if you don't mind. Just lower it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Also securing funding of 2.1 million through the Warm Homes Social Housing Fund Way 3, enabling the installation of low carbon heating systems like air source heat pumps and solar PV panels to 240 homes, providing significant cost reductions for our residents. Optimising energy use through communal solar PV installations at high consumption sites like Carleckman House and Chantry Court, and reducing reliance on the national grid to 50%. Plus plans to expand battery storage to enhance energy efficiencies further. Furthermore, the team is exploring the use of energy-saving additives in wet central heating systems like endotherm to support its sustainability objectives. Conducting individual appraisals of our 176 hard-to-treat properties to review the level of investment and feasibility of improvement measures required to ensure they still meet the current letting standard. Excuse me. Overall, the report underscores the Council's proactive approach to climate change, demonstrating progress in retrofit programs initiative renewable energy projects and strategic funding applications that collectively aim to improve housing quality, reduce fuel poverty, reduce carbon emissions and support the Council's broader climate strategy. That's all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mel. Any questions? Deborah, and then Shane, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just really to congratulate the team on meeting 83% of the stock meets the government target. I think that's quite an achievement, and that's something that the team should be really proud of. So congratulations on that. I think the fact that there has been funding received too, I think this is a very, very positive initiative and outcome for the borough and our residents. So again, well done. Thank you. That's a good report. Thanks.
Thank you. Shane.
Just to back that up, I think 6.3 on the report on page 46 says that all this work estimates will save £5 million over 10 years to our residents, saving £93 each year on their fuel bills for everyone. Irrespective of any feelings on climate change, surely saving £5 million off the fuel bills for residents should be seen as a win and sure something that everybody will welcome as an initiative. I don't think anyone's going to suggest that not doing this and not saving that for residents isn't anything other than a good thing. Some of these properties are very old and some of those they've required extensive work to them, but despite that, this report clearly shows that we've overcome those challenges to make sure we can save that money for residents. 5 million is not an insurmountable sum. And it kind of goes back to the previous item, Chair, about quantifying those long-term outcomes to this. It isn't just the expenditure and the benefits to the climate, it is the benefits to residents on a cash term basis, which we can clearly demonstrate through this.
As far as work programmes going forward, Val, are we still bidding for government funding for some of these?
Can you hear me? So the funding we received, so that was a massive part of what the Department of Energy Security and Net Zero have put forward for the next 3 years. So at the moment, that's the only funding they're putting towards, such as the warm homes and social house funding. So we have kind of tried to maximise our bid over the next 3 years to obviously try and get as much grant funding as we can and do as much as what we can as well.
Obviously, we will continue with the programme and we will be seeking as much funding as we can from government to continue the work. I think there are benefits to our community and we will therefore continue in that vein. Finding opportunities to improve services, as well as actually improving the lives of our tenants and our residents in Gravesham. I think it is important we continue with the work, and regardless of some opinions elsewhere, I think it is supported by government, regional government, world government, that we get on with it. So that's what we will continue to do in Gravesham. So thank you much for your help and what you've been doing on that front. You all happy with that? Thank you. That then neatly takes us to the next item on the agenda, and that is the final report, which is proposed revised climate change strategy. Seda, please.
Thank you, Chair. Last year in September, the Cabinet considered a report reflecting the achievements of the Council and the Borough since declaring the climate emergency in 2019. The report also recognized the increasing challenges in delivering the Council's target for decarbonising its own operations and the limited impact this will have on wider borough emissions, highlighting the opportunity to refocus resources and efforts on wider climate actions and their core benefits to further the interests of the borough as a whole. Consequently, approval was given to develop a new climate strategy for the Council. To support that, a consultation exercise was planned to connect with our community to get their feedback and suggestions, which included an online survey for residents and businesses hosted on Go Vocal platform, meeting students from Gravesham Youth Council, meeting parish councillors, and getting feedback from residents through one of the big conversation events hosted at Womble Park. We also spoke to our climate change working group officers to get their suggestions. The responses from the consultation, DESNIS data, other information like carbon budgets, climate change and Kent Community Risk Register, our own strategies like Air Quality Action Plan, Biodiversity First Consideration Report, and the Emerging Local Plan has helped to shape the draft strategy, which is detailed in Appendix 2. Key themes that emerged from the consultation activity are transport and movement, waste reduction and recycling, reducing energy consumption, businesses to create net zero plans, sustainable diet and growing produce locally, circular economy, awareness of carbon footprint, facilitating grants and incentives, repair cafes, and planting more trees. These key themes have helped to create those 7 ambitions mentioned in the draft strategy. Moving to the next steps, following consideration by the board today, the draft strategy will be presented to the full council on 17 June for approval and adoption. Once we have the approval, the draft strategy will be shared on the Go Vocal platform for final feedback from residents. Simultaneously, a new delivery plan will be developed to support our climate change strategy through collaborating with climate change working group officers. And soon after that, the final strategy and delivery plan will be available for publication. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm particularly interested to see the extent of consultation you have taken with the community, businesses, individuals, the Youth Council in particular. They represent the thinking of the future of the borough, not necessarily the older people who have stayed in their ways and lacking the understanding of what is happening in our community. So I particularly welcome the views of the youth. The plan that you've now developed obviously also moves the work that we're doing from GBC primarily undertaking the functions and roles and expenditure into one of the leadership mode, which I think is going to be very important. There's only so much we can do as a borough council with our own stock, our own vehicles, and we're doing that, leading to the position we're aiming to get to for 2030. And that is based on our funding, government funding, and the movement within the community itself. But I think the bigger issue is how we communicate into the wider community, the schools particularly. We need to engage with them and other agencies. And I think the report indicates it's been very well received so far. So I'd be commending the report to full council for adoption and the way we'll move forward. Any comments from members? Shane first and Deborah this time.
Thanks very much, Joe. In line with what I said at the previous 2 parts about the financial benefit to residents, the climate change strategy features very much carbon tonnage, but doesn't actually then have the benefit to Gravesham financially including our residents and results. And that actually comes out in the survey as a requirement. You know, we were sceptical, but we've saved pounds, which is on page 60 of the report, was one of the responses. How do we celebrate the successes, not just in terms of carbon neutrality, but also in terms of actually what this has done for residents, I suppose the visible effects of this, and can we reflect that in the strategy moving forward before it reaches full council? How do we measure that, I suppose in pound, shilling, pence? Because I think we can. I think it is quantifiable, at least even at an estimate. If we save this much in terms of this then saves people moving forward, because we've been able to have estimates in previous ones. I'm sure we can drag some of that out as well. And like you, Chair, welcome the views of our Youth Council. They've constantly provided us with wisdom. If ever there was a true saying that age does not get wisdom, that's it. That's some of the ideas they come up with are fantastic, and they are credit to Gravesham. And I hope they continue to be that conduit for their views and issues of their peers moving forward. And you can see some of their views reflected in this work, which I think is really good and shows we listen to them as you have done. And I know, Sarah, at the very start of this, you actually engaged with them from the off. We had a bit of a summit here and they were able to give their views, and they were reflected in the original version of this. So thank you for that. And I take your point finally, Chair, that we've almost done what we can do up to that point. It's going to be for others to take this forward. As we've done the GBC section, it's now everybody else that's got to make sure this is done, because actually it's not just the carbon benefit, it's the financial benefit for residents. We all want to see that moving forward.
Can I just ask if you do or are able to do some of that financial input into the report, that needs to be in the covering report, not in the strategy. The strategy indicates how we can move forward, and it doesn't need the financial details in, because that's not the same thing. So if we can do that in a covering report to the report to council, that would be useful as background. But the actual strategy itself needs to be a standalone document, and that's what we're adopting. Okay. Sarah?
If I may, Chair. Yeah, we can certainly bring that into the covering report. One of my suggestions, and it's for this board to decide, would be that in developing our delivery plan, obviously you've considered that this evening, we could actually perhaps expand the delivery plans to include those financial and co-benefits so that we can capture those perhaps a little bit more clearly, which I think then again supports that strategy position of us being a leader and actually enabling rather than necessarily us doing it ourselves. So if that's something the committee would like us to do, we'll work on that basis. Okay, thank you.
Deborah?
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of comments. It's interesting from the responses when the groups were asked how concerned are you about current climate change, and there are quite a high, or 76% were very concerned. So it shows that, you know, we are listening, or we will be listening to our people, and it is something that people are generally concerned about, you know, not just locally, but, you know, nationally and globally. So the fact that we're stepping up and responding to this is to be commended. The other thing, how they feel, how well informed are they? Well, 24% say they're very well informed, 67 somewhat informed. So I think it's really good that if we can continue to get the message out, you know, as to what we're doing. And I think a classic, just to go back to our operational services, the fact that the freighters now are running completely on HBO is to be commended, and that really is reducing the carbon emissions. It is a challenge in this borough because we do have the A2 and we do have traffic on the Thames that we have no control over. So what we do within the borough to help control emissions, I think, is extremely important. So, you know, well done to the teams for actually working this initiative forward. Thank you.
Are there any comments from officers? You feel you need to add anything? Are you happy with the summary we used? Yeah, beautiful. Anything more from members? No? Right, with that then, we can adopt the strategy. No, you'll note in the recommendations that any changes will be dealt with in consultation with myself prior to going to full council. And that's the best way of dealing with that. Are we agreed with that proposal and recommendation? Yeah. Thank you very much. That then is the final item on the agenda. Apart from moving to the next page, which is item 8, any other business that needs to be dealt with. None that has been notified to me in the proper manner, and therefore there is nothing. Item 9, exclusion of the public. Before moving to part B of the report, there is nothing in part B, and therefore that is the end of the meeting. Thank you very much.